We're going.
Okay, let me just turn the music off.
Ooh,
Is that comfortable?
feels great.
Okay.
I'm Gary, and I'm here with
Kaleah.
Kaleah. And what's on your mind today?
I'm just really happy that you've come by to do this interview. I think that's very exciting. But I'm working today. I've made room between helping people to become their most empowered self to having this time with you.
Cool. I started out slow, sluggish today.
Yeah.
You know, the mind's willing, but the body's dragging. So, but I said, no, I have disappointment today. And I'm here because I want to see what makes Kaleah. What makes you? What motivates you?
I'm a product of my experiences in life, as all of us are. So, you know, I really related to something you said last Sunday, which was about being a fighter, you know, in a sense.
Yeah.
We can take that being a fighter, you know, well, I'm a lover, not a fighter, or but in the same way we fight to overcome the obstacles in our lives. In some way we have to draw upon that fighting spirit, and that's something that I've always done as I've been presented with these obstacles in life, and life hasn't been easy for me. I haven't had one of those lives
right.
that you could sail through. It's been
I don't think most of us have. Okay.
Yeah.
We've all got stories.
We've all got stories.
Right.
So there's been a lot of overcoming abuse, overcoming, you know, feeling like I'm being pushed down, being held down.
Well, you were. This society was geared for that.
Yeah.
You know that. And for me too, it was designed to keep black people down.
Yeah.
You know, and women too.
And women, yeah.
And you guys were our best ally once we did our civil rights stuff. We were taking a beating. We were being dog set on us. We were hosed, you know. We were shot, we were beat up, and then finally, women realized that they're in the same boat we are.
Yeah.
And they joined our movement, and then they started burning bras and the whole bit. You remember the routine.
Well, kind of, yeah.
It propelled us forward. And you see where the world is now. The Berlin Wall came down right after that, after the world saw us in our struggle. And South Africa fell apart, apartheid gone now, you know. We're, as humans and part of the human condition, you know, we're allies, and we have to, and whenever we come across injustice and brutality, we gotta stick together, we gotta stop it.
We do, and one thing that really is on my heart is that recently, right here in Sedona, the Sedona area, a woman was severely abused by her boyfriend. And I'm in the field, I work in the field of helping women and men to become empowered and to get out of abusive situations and to get strong so that they're not in abusive situations.
Right.
And they let him free without any consequences whatsoever. And she was pretty badly, I would call it attempted murder. She was being suffocated with a pillow, you know, held against her will. She kept trying to get free. He kept chasing after her, dragging her back, putting a blanket over her, pinning her down. And I dated this man 4 years ago. So it was really personal to me.
Right.
And it never escalated to the point it had with her, because I saw some red flags and I got out.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I work in the field, I know what to look for, and not to say that she didn't, but I just know the dynamics that cause, you know, women to stay in these relationships feeling so disempowered and so put down and not believing they can do any better or that anybody would ever love love them, and there's just so much that happens.
So what would you call that? Lack of self-esteem?
Yeah, lack of self-esteem, lack of self-worth.
Okay, because we're talking and somebody's going to see this.
Yeah.
You should explain it.
Absolutely, lack of self-worth. But the beautiful thing that's coming out of this is the community is gathering together to bring justice for this woman.
Cool.
And so there's a whole Facebook group coming of people, men and women, coming together saying, no, it's not okay, Yavapai County, that you're letting this man walk free to do this again.
Right.
And so there's like 400 or more people in our community who have already come together, and it grows. And so it's beautiful, because often the community turns a blind eye, or our families or our friends,
yes,
they don't show up for us when we need them to. And I've had that experience too. So
because it's easy for us to do that.
it is easy.
And it's hard for us if you see something, you got to say something, and that's hard.
Yeah.
And what do the 400 people do? Do they go to the city council meetings?
They're basically writing letters, making phone calls, saying we want justice. This is not okay.
To the senator, to the sheriff,
Congress,
to the Congress.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, police, chief of police, the attorney, the Yavapai attorney's office, and so action is being taken, and we don't know what the outcome's going to be yet, but the community is coming together. And it's interesting how there's this other spectrum that's like, oh, it's a witch hunt. All these women are coming together to be man-haters. And it's like, no. We have men in our group. It's not about man-hating. It's about this behavior is no longer okay, and it will no longer be tolerated.
Right.
It's holding people accountable
right.
for what they're doing to each other.
Right.
And we're coming together as a community and saying, no, you can't do that anymore. It's not okay. That's the dark ages, folks.
Yes. So what are you guys seeking with this person? Punitive? You want to punish this guy first of all?
Well,
put him in the slammer
yeah,
for a while?
I think that's the
and then get
objective.
Him in a program to where he understands what he did wrong, because that's the key. If you're just punished, so they can hold your feet to the fire,
right?
And it's gonna hurt,
right?
But he's gonna continue to do the same thing, just like they say about child molesters.
Right.
When they come out, they still do the same thing.
Yeah.
Something has to trigger change.
And I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's been going through my mind as well, because my specialty is narcissistic abuse, so dealing with the narcissist and the sociopaths.
Okay.
I've always had kind of this fascination because, my family took a sociopath in when I was at home as a foster brother, and he did a lot of damage.
Okay.
And I lived, there's a serial killer named Ted Bundy.
I remember Ted
He was
Bundy's
killing
years.
in my neighborhood. I'm from the area that he was doing his kidnapping and killing of women.
He was in two areas. He was in Washington, and then he moved to Florida, didn't he?
Well, I think that's where he was, I think that's where he's punished, but I'm from Washington.
Okay.
So I was in the areas that he was being seen, and, I was a young girl then, and it planted a seed in me to understand, why does somebody do this? So I started exploring, and then I had some relationships with people that were narcissistic, which the best way I can explain that are people that lack empathy and that really don't have a conscience about how they treat other people. And so they
Sounds like me in my younger years. I'm serious.
But you overcame that.
Yeah.
And what made you be able to overcome that?
Personal growth, education. My spirituality told me it was wrong.
So your spirituality told you that was wrong. So that right there is a chip that most sociopaths and narcissists are missing.
Right.
So they don't have that little voice in there somewhere that says, which is a conscience, which says what you're doing is wrong. So what can we do about people like that? because
Don't have a clue.
you can't rehabilitate them because
Right.
they don't think they need to be rehabilitated.
Right.
In fact, this man that did this horrible abuse doesn't think he did anything wrong. He's twisted the story
Right.
completely.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah, that's what they do. And so you really can't do any rehabilitation unless this technique comes up that none of us know about yet. There really isn't a method to rehabilitate sociopaths and severe narcissists, malignant narcissists.
So that begs the question, why support them for 10 years? Why pay $60,000 for their room and board and food?
What's the alternative?
Kill them.
Yeah, but
Just an alternative. I didn't say it was nice. I didn't say it was socially accepted at this point. But we do have an electric chair.
Yeah.
And we used to use it.
Yeah.
And
but we also used to do I always tell people back in the reason there's so many sociopaths running around today is back in the days of the cowboys, you know.
Right.
If somebody was causing trouble, they'd be taken out.
I know.
And nobody would have done anything about it, you know,
Right.
because we didn't have the same system.
Right.
Now, you know, we have the, you know, thou shalt not kill, it's wrong to kill. And
But
most
we do
of
it
us
anyway.
Yeah,
we give the police guns, and that's a sore subject for me, being a black man and being shot in the streets for traffic problems. That's not good to say, thou shalt not kill, when they have a license and they're killing us on the streets.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, you know,
right.
This society is way
it's like
different.
war. War gives people the license to kill.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
in mass quantities.
Yes. And we're good at it.
So you're right. We do kill.
Right.
We do kill. And you know, if there's if a mountain lion comes into our community, we're going to take that mountain lion out in a heartbeat because it's a threat to our children.
Yes.
And
if someone comes in that door at night and you're afraid, you're going to get rid of that threat too.
Well, I don't have I'm not going to say this.
We don't want the world to know. Okay. But my point is, you will protect yourself. At some point, we will all do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. And I think it gets abused.
Right.
Because we abuse everything all our privileges and rights and privileges and rights. My mindset is, I can do anything I want to do. Period. There's Mother Teresa. There was Hitler. You could do anything you want to do. It's just how corrupt you are, or how it's hard to put words
What's your
on
relationship with your shadow? That
was what stopped me, because I didn't want to be like them. The people who were keeping me down, I did not want to become them.
Right.
So I said, I need a way to flip the script.
Yep.
Change it. That's what I was trying to get across to the group, talking about yin yang.
Mm-hmm.
Change comes, but you could institute change. You could do it and just change the situation. When they bring hostility, you bring love and compassion.
Right. And I found myself doing that more because, like all of us in the past, I learned about narcissism by being on the receiving end of this narcissistic abuse, this pattern, you know, of being involved with people that were constantly judging, disempowering, undermining, gaslighting, finding fault, and that I was always trying to defend myself.
Right.
You know, no, that's not true. I'm this and I'm that, and I'm not what you're saying that I am, and defending myself. And then, you know, I got smarter and smarter about it, and it's like, no, you don't want to defend yourself. That doesn't do any good to defend yourself, to say how you're not what you're being accused of.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And what was your defense? Distancing yourself
absolutely.
from that event?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
distancing and aligning with my own truth of who I am,
Right.
because I came from a belief that I was nothing, that I was no good, that you know, society was kind of feeding that to me, that there was something wrong with me. And these are core beliefs that I had from childhood.
I have mine here too.
Yeah.
So I know.
And so it was a constant effort for me, and that's kind of the fight I talk about, kind of fighting these ideas of myself that were planted
Right.
in my consciousness
Right.
as a young child, that there's something wrong with me, that I don't deserve to be loved,
Right.
that
I fought those same battles.
yeah, and if there's a problem, it's my fault. That's the
Right.
other one. You're to blame. You're to blame. You know. And I had to learn to do that. So nowadays, when somebody comes at me with that, it's like, you know, I can see that that's how you feel, and I just remove myself. I don't. Relationships are a choice. We get to choose who we hang out with.
Yes. Yes, and who we choose to battle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can walk away from it. I don't need to win every argument.
No.
I don't even need to argue.
Right.
Okay. So I get you there. And I do, I sponsor that. I'm a sponsor of that. Just walk away sometimes. It's healthier for your own peace of mind too, than to let people just drag you down like that.
Right.
So.
Right. We have to be managers of our own well-being.
Okay.
By kind of managing our environment in a sense. We can't choose everything. People are going to come in.
Right.
One thing I was interviewed the other day about my work with narcissistic abuse, and someone said, well, now that you've overcome all this and you've healed and you're empowered, you're no longer attracting the narcissist. I says, no, that's not true, because narcissists love bright lights and beautiful people.
Okay. Right.
So of course I'm going to be a magnet. That if you have a bright light, if you're projecting beauty and kindness and love, like moths to a flame, they're still going to come in the door. Right. It's just that I said that they don't stay anymore. I don't invite them to dinner.
Right.
And if I do invite them to dinner and I start getting to know who they are, and I find out that they don't have my best interest at heart, they get to leave. So, it's not that we become, there's this idea that as we elevate our vibration, as we become better versions of ourselves, that we're no longer attracting the darkness. And I don't believe that's true at all. I think we just develop a different relationship with it.
Right. And learn to recognize it.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have friends in our lives anymore that are disempowering to us.
Right. That's heavy. That's deep, Kayla.
I go deep. Yeah, you didn't know what you were signing up for.
But like I said, when I was younger, I had some of those characteristics. Empathy. I totally lacked because of the harshness that I felt I was dealt from reality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And the struggle that I had in watching all the death, trying to get through my struggle, seeing all the other kids around me dying, they had the same issue. And then a person comes up and tells you about how they had a parent that was hard on them, verbally abusive to them, and then say, I'd trade that in a heartbeat, But and then I started understanding that pain is pain.
Yeah.
Suffering is suffering. It doesn't matter whether it's ranked 10 on the scale or 3. It's still pain, and each one of us has our own struggle. And as I matured through knowledge, I kind of changed that philosophy, and I'm no longer that harsh, standoffish guy. I can relate now. You know, but I'm 70 years old. Look how long it took me.
Better late than never.
Look how long it took, you know.
So that's it though, you know, the majority of my clients that come to me are in their 50s because that's a time, well, majority are women. I work with maybe 80-90% women, 10-20% men.
Why is it more women?
Well, because my work is in narcissistic abuse.
And they are the victims.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
and you know, I don't know if the statistics are accurate or not, but the statistics out there are that narcissists are 75% men, 25% women.
I would think it'd be more 50-50.
Yeah.
I've seen 50-50 throughout my years.
But there's something called borderline personality disorder that's 75% women and 25% men that have a lot of the similar characteristics. So when we're talking psychological diagnoses, you know, there's these percentages. So it seems like there's a couple different reasons, and that is women are more likely to seek help than men. Men feel more ashamed about getting help.
That's why the numbers look low.
Yeah.
It's as many men are being abused as women.
Yes.
You could count on that.
Yes.
I've seen it all my life.
Yeah, I believe that, yes.
It's just, you know, like you say, it's a pride thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, who wants to go up there and admit that their wife beat them up?
Well, that makes them feel emasculated. You know, I'm supposed to be the man, I can't. But the abuse is not usually physical. It's not that it can't be. Yeah, women throw things and come unglued and punch and hit too. But, you know, the narcissistic abuse I talk about is a lot of manipulation, a lot of control dynamics, pathological lying, you know, that just twists somebody's reality so they don't know what's going on. So it's a form of psychological abuse.
Okay.
Yeah, and anybody can fall prey to that. It happens in relationships where the man is the victim, where the woman is the victim, where it happens in families, it happens in friendships, it happens in work situations, employment situations, it happens in churches.
Right.
It's everywhere.
Right.
And I've worked on all levels with people. Yeah.
Right, and I think it stemmed from society. Like you mentioned, masculinity. I don't know what that means. I came from a culture where all of the women in my life that I knew, from my daughter, my wife, my mother, my grandmother, my aunts, all of them were professional women. All of them did stuff outside the home. All of them had skills and knowledge and gave it to us when we had encounters, because back in my day, you didn't have daycare centers.
Mm-hmm.
So we got parceled out to people who were available. Mm-hmm. One aunt would get you, you know, but all of us would be there, all of the cousins, you know, and you had a bond. We was, you know, we knew each other back then. We were each other's friends and keepers and helpers. We helped the older ones, helped the younger ones. So it was a different society. And I hear it referred to nowadays as it takes a village to raise a kid.
Yeah.
That's what was always going on until lately.
Yeah.
You know, and the women were all strong. The men were just as strong. A lot of the men taught us cooking, because some of the best chefs in the world are men.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So that's not a feminine thing.
Right.
Sewing. We're tailors. We do stuff. That's not a feminine thing. What is masculine and what is feminine? And society is throwing out this stuff at us and it's corrupting us. I hear us talk about that all the time. I hear Arville talking about the masculine.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no such thing. We are all brave. We are all smart. We are all caring. We are all loving. We be humans, okay?
I think it's more the ideas that people have about what a man is and what a woman is.
I think
You
that's
know?
because they're afraid. And they want to isolate the things that they're afraid of. Oh, that's your job. You do that. You know?
Yeah.
That's all there's to that. My daughter, she's an engineer down in Tucson.
Oh,
And she married a judge, okay? But that gal would help me work on the car. I would take her out camping and canoeing, and she learned to shoot out there. She's a better shot than my sons, you know. Uh, you know, we did all sorts of stuff. I taught them how to cook and sew buttons, you know, little repair stuff. And I taught them saving is good, but if you need more money, go out and make more money. So if you got torn something, throw it away, buy you something else. You know, and if you can't afford it, do better so you can afford it. I applied a different motivation than the one I grew up with. Like I said, I tried to change the dynamic of the situation because I found I was able to remove obstacles from their paths
Right.
by doing that so that they had a smoother childhood,
Yeah.
you know?
And I think that's kind of what we all strive to do, is to learn our lessons and pass them to our children so that we make a
Yes.
better world as a result of it.
Yes.
You know, the question is it working? And I think at a lot of levels it is, and a
Yeah.
lot of levels it is, because, you know, in the field that I work in, you know, I call it healing the ancestral wound, that these wounds get passed on from generation to generation to generation. That's in families, but we also have the societal wound and the
Right.
things, you know, the prejudice and everything that affects society.
Right.
But on an ancestral level, we now have AA, you know, we've got Alcoholics Anonymous, we've got all these different programs, we've got lots of therapeutic modalities, we've got lots of self-help seminars and books and all kinds of things that are geared towards helping a person overcome their obstacles in life and become better versions of themselves. And while they're doing that, there's actually a saying that if I can heal my wounds, that even though my son is an adult, that automatically gets passed on to him.
It
And
doesn't.
it gets passed on to my parents, and, you know, just kind of this osmosis,
Right.
you know?
And it doesn't. It does not happen that way. Everything is singular. It happens, those experiences and growth happen to you and you alone. And communicating that to them is your job, you know?
Right,
'Cause-
but it's going to change how I interact with them, which can change
absolutely.
them.
Absolutely. In a roundabout way, but you
I have seen changes.
Oh.
I've seen changes happen on a family dynamic level that are the result, I think, of my changing. It's how I interact, it's how I see things, it's how I perceive things, that everybody starts to show up a little bit differently.
Right, and that's an example of Wu Wei, teaching by example.
Mm-hmm.
Be that person,
Right.
and they'll see you and learn from that dynamic. So, yeah, I got a lot out of Taoism, you know, and I took every one of those concepts and used them as tools, because that's all I know how to do, you know. I'm a fix-it guy. I was an engineer, you know. I gotta be able to change something, to fix it, to make it more suitable for me,
Mm-hmm.
so that I benefit, because I saw no other way for me to benefit, you know. So I had to make my own, and those were tools, and I'm loving it. I'm finally understanding all of their worth, you know.
Yeah.
And it took me a lot of years. I could use the yin yang one when I was younger, and all through the 20s and 30s, relied on it. And around the 40s and so I started getting more, I guess, metaphysical and more in the head. You know, because I had other priorities: the wife, the kids. You know, bringing them up and fighting my own little battles too. So.
Right, and it does seem pretty typical. Like I said, a lot of people come to me in their 50s and 60s because that's when they're really confronting the demons that they didn't have time to confront in the past. Plus, women. I told you I work largely with women. I love working with men though, because it's like, yeah, we're going to empower the men, you know.
Okay.
I love that work.
Empower.
But yeah, to help those men overcome those obstacles of who they think they should be and become who they really are. But that's exactly what I do with women too. And the thing is that women, when they're in their childbearing years, they're either focused on taking care of the kids they have, or their hormones are saying get a man, you know.
Right.
So they're focusing on things outside of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they start entering their 50s, then things start to change, where the focus starts to go back inside, and they get to look at their life and what they've created in their life. And the majority of women, of course, that come to me are dissatisfied with what they've created. They're dissatisfied with their relationships. They may have spent 20 or 30 years with somebody that was abusive or controlled them or kept them down, and now they're ready to rise up into who they really are, into their authentic selves. And so they've got to let go of a lot of what they were, the old roles that they used to play.
Right.
So that seems to be a time too where we go into our greater spirituality, where we do more exploring on a spiritual level. You know, if you look around, like the center that we go to, you know, what is it, 70%, 80% older people?
Yes. Right.
Right.
And there's a reason for
There's
that.
a reason for that.
There's a reason for that.
Not just that we're old and lonely and want some place to be, it's that we're doing our spiritual exploration.
Right. Because we're getting near the end and we want to know what's there.
Yeah.
And I haven't figured that one out yet either, but I don't care. Because I'm enjoying every day here. So it doesn't matter what's there. As long as when I get there, I'm smiling because I had a great time getting there, okay? So that's what counts to me. So
I think for me, I heard it said once at the gates of heaven, you're asked one question, and that's how well did you love? And so for me,